In this video, we're going to look at command line interface tools. First thing we need to do is click on Start. In the text box, type CMD. Hit Enter. First tool we're going to look at is ipconfig. If I type in ipconfig /?, it will show me all the options for ipconfig. The options we're going to look at are all, release, renew, flush DNS, display DNS. So let's look at ipconfig all first. Here's all my IP settings. I have several adapters here. This is for IPv6, so we're going to scroll up until we see our IPv4 address. And right here it is. I've labeled my network private network. Here's my MAC address. This is the static IP. I'm not getting it from a DHCP server. Here's my IPv4 address. Here's my subnet mask. Here's my default gateway. And here's my DNS server. Let me show you ipconfig display DNS. I don't have anything in my cache currently. I'm going to go into a website just so I have something to show you. I've connected to a website, which also means I've talked to several DNS servers. DNS servers resolves names to IPs. So if I do ipconfig display DNS, I'll see all the information I've cached about what servers I talked to and their IP address that's associated to them. Basically, I've cached information about Facebook, MSN. I imagine these are ad servers. But let's say you have some information in your DNS cache and you want to get rid of it. So you can type in ipconfig flush DNS. If I scroll up and type display DNS, I can see my cache is deleted. The next two commands won't work on this system because I have a static IP. I don't have a dynamic IP. But if I did have a dynamic IP, I could type in ipconfig release. It would release the IP I received from the DHCP server. And then I could type in IP renew and check a new IP out. The next command we're going to look at is ping. I could type in ping. This is Google's DNS server. If I hit enter, it will show me that I have connectivity to that machine. It's not a good idea to ping by hostname because if it fails, you don't know if you have bad name resolution or you don't have connectivity. It's always a good idea to ping by IP address as opposed to hostname. If you do want to ping by hostname, the best thing you can do is run the command Nslookup, then the hostname, verify that you can talk to the DNS server and resolve names to IPs. So right now, I know my name resolution is working. If I attempt to ping by hostname now and it fails, I know that I don't have connectivity. I know that the name resolution is working because I've already tested that. Let's say you're working on a computer and you're doing a bunch of different things and you're trying to test different things to get connectivity and you want to ping for a long time. I can use ping-t and ping that address. It will continuously ping. If you have a problem and you fix it, at that point you'll see that your pings are going through. Or if you're doing something and the ping stopped, that means you just broke something. This is a nice little feature, the -t. Let me talk about Nslookup some more. Nslookup is a very useful command. It allows you to connect to a DNS server and test name resolution. You can use it as a command or utility. Right now I'm going to use it as a command. Nslookup. And I can see that I'm talking to my DNS server, 192.168.1.254. I was able to resolve google.com to several IP addresses. It knows the IP of the DNS server from ipconfig. ipconfig /all. And if I scroll up to my IPv4 address, right there is the DNS server. So by default, that's the DNS server I'm going to talk to. So if I wanted to use Nslookup as a utility, I could just type Nslookup. And you'll notice my prompt changes. And right now, my default server is 192.168.1.254. If I wanted to, I could type in server 8.8.8.8. And now I'll be testing any name resolution against this new server. So if I type in www.google.com, I noticed that I get different IP addresses. When I tested against my server, I got a 74.125.227.114. When I test against this other DNS server, I get 173.194.3719. The reason for this is because my DNS server and this DNS server are probably in different regions. So that's how Google does load balancing. If you're in this region, you'll connect to these Google servers. If you're in this region, you'll connect to these servers. What I did here is called a forward lookup. I have a name, I want an IP. I can also do the reverse. If I have an IP, come back with a name. So I'm going to type in set type equal to PTR. That's a reverse lookup record. So if I type in 173.194.37.19, that'll come back with a fully qualified domain name for that computer. If I wanted to go back to do forward lookup, I could type in set type equal A. Now I'm back to forward lookup. I can type in www.cnn.com and come back with the IPs of the CNN server. If I want to get out of this utility, I could just type in exit. The next command I want to look at is ARP. ARP will allow you to see all the MAC addresses that you have cached in your system. Currently I have several MAC addresses. Notice that I'll only have MAC addresses for my current network. I'll never have MAC addresses for any computer outside of my network. But every once in a while a computer might switch out. You might have a bad ARP cache. You can wipe out your ARP cache. I know this will fail, and I'll show you why in a minute. I'm going to do ARP-D for delete and asterisk. It's going to fail because right now UAC is kicking in and it's saying I'm not running it as an administrator right now. ARP-A just allows me to view all of my ARP cache. So if I wanted to actually do the deletion, I can click on Start, type in CMD. I need to elevate my account to an administrator. So I need to right click Command, say Run as Administrator. And you can see that the UAC icon is right there, the UAC shield. Click Yes. And notice that I'm in a different directory. When I'm running as a normal administrator account with no elevated privileges, it drops me in my user's home folder. If I elevate myself to an administrator, it drops me in the C Windows System32 folder. So if I type ARP-D asterisk now, it'll actually delete my ARP cache. If I wanted to repopulate my ARP cache, I just need to communicate with those servers in order to do it in the background. Ping 8.8.8.8. I'm going to ping Google's DNS server. Also what I'm doing is I'm having to talk to the gateway. So when I talk to the gateway, I'm also caching the MAC address for the gateway. If I do ARP-A, I can see there's the gateway, and that's the MAC address for the gateway. The reason I talk to the gateway is this computer here is not in my subnet, it's outside of my network, so for me to get to it, I have to go through the gateway. So that's why I needed the gateway's MAC address. I need to send all the packets to the gateway, and the gateway sends it out to the internet to this machine. The next command we're going to look at is route print. Route print is my routing table for my computer. Every computer on the network, or every device on the network rather, has a routing table. So here's my routing table. It tells me about the loopback network, everything starting with the 127. So that is the loopback network, that's a loopback address, and that's a loopback network's broadcast address. This is the network that I'm part of, 192.168.1.0, with the subnet mask of 255.255.255.0. And here's my IP, 192.168.1.73. On my IP line, you'll notice that the subnet mask, or the net mask they're calling it here, is completely masked off. There's no host bits. And this is my broadcast address for this network. Again, all the host bits are masked off. This means it's a host address, not a network address. This is a network address. This is the host address. This is the host address. This is the network address. I can tell by the subnet mask. Then these are multicast address I'm not going to go into. But you also notice that I have this quad 0 line, 4 zeros, 4 zeros. That's our default route. So if we have a network that we want to connect to, or a computer that we want to connect to, there's no routing table entry for that network, then this is the entry that you'll use. So for any network that I don't know about, go this path. So basically what it's saying is for 8.8.8.8, I don't have an entry for that network. So go to this path, meaning send it to that gateway out my interface. The next command we're going to look at is traceroute. What this command does, it will ping every router between you and the destination IP. If you have a break in the network, this will tell you where the break is. Sometimes the routers are configured not to respond to ICMP traffic, which is what ping is, and so you'll get something like this where it doesn't respond, but the routers afterwards respond. That's normal, but just to give you an idea what this command does. So the command is done. Between my computer and this 8.8.8.8, which is Google's DNS server, there are 11 routers. 2 routers have ICMP turned off. That's okay. I can see I have complete connectivity for the entire route. The next command we're going to look at is netstat. I'm going to put the options of -A and N. A means show me everything, A for all, and N means leave it as numbers. Don't try to resolve the numbers to names. Like if you see an IP, leave it an IP. Don't resolve that IP to a name. The name resolution just takes up time, so I'm not even going to bother doing the name resolution. And what this command tells me is any ports that I have open on this computer. So right now I can see I have all these ports open and I'm listening on them. That doesn't mean anyone can reach them because my firewall might block them, but right now I do have all these ports open. The best way to secure a machine is not open up the ports to begin with, but if you have to have them open for some reason or another, then the second best way to secure them is with the firewall. Also, if you had any active connections, like you were surfing a web, that would show up here as well. So I'm going to do that right now. CNN.com. Then I'm going to run netstat again. I can see I have a bunch of established connections to the CNN server. Some of these might be the ad server, but just for that one website, this is how many connections my computer made. Everywhere it says established. This 443 is HTTPS connections. This port 80 is HTTP. So these are dynamically generated local ports connecting to server ports on CNN's web server. Okay, the last command I want to show you is shutdown. Shutdown -T space 0. That stands for in 0 seconds. Time 0 seconds. And I want to shut it down. If I didn't want to shut it down but I wanted to reboot, I would do -R. I'm not going to run the commands. I want to keep this virtual machine up and running. But just to show you, that's a quick way to shut down or a quick way to reboot if you're on the command prompt. Okay, that's it for this lab. Thank you.